Today's episode of Midlife Strategies for Badass Women is going to be a real treat. Today, I had the opportunity to interview Dianette Wells, and she is an elite athlete. She is an elite mountaineer, adventure racer, and author who embodies the power of passion driven resilience. She is one of fewer than 500 people to conquer the 7 summits. That includes Mount Everest more than once, I'll have you know, Kilimanjaro, Denali, and she's also raced 150 plus miles across deserts, biked across America, and competed in multiple eco challenges and the ultra marathons worldwide. Many of them were televised on Amazon's Prime World's Toughest Race, 48 Hours Eco Challenge in Borneo, and the Discovery Channel's World Championship, and the documentary American Daredevil. A mother of three, Dianette's journey took a profound turn in 2015 when her son Johnny, a record setting adventurer himself, died in a wingsuit accident. Channeling grief into grit, Dianette continued pushing her boundaries, from summiting peaks to writing her memoir called Another Step Up the Mountain. Dianette is now on a mission through her speaking and writing to inspire others to chase their own Everest, whatever the odds. You're listening to Midlife Strategies for Badass Women, the no BS podcast for women over 40 who are sick of playing by someone else's rules. I'm your host, Sue Willoughby, badass midlife strategist, truth teller, and professional fire starter for midlife reinvention. Around here, we don't do fluff. We do real talk, bold strategies, and badass breakthroughs. Because midlife isn't a crisis, it's your damn power move. If you're all in, unapologetic, and ready to reinvent, let's get started. Hello, lovely listener. I am so happy that you are here with me today for another episode of Midlife Strategies for Badass Women. And I have a true badass with me today. Dianette Wells has done so many amazing things, as you picked up from the introduction. Summiting 7 peaks. She's written a book. She is just an amazing, amazing woman. And so I'm not going to keep you in suspense anymore. Dianette, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me.
We have so much to talk about today. We were chatting before we got online, and we talked about you've done so many amazing things. And I think that the thing that I would love to focus on with you today is, yes, you've climbed Mount Everest and 6 other amazing peaks. You've done a lot of extreme adventures, races, and you've also had some tragic family loss. So when I think about women in midlife, which I am, which you are, which my listeners are, I think about how women are faced with challenges with their identities and how they can, they have trouble getting out of one identity and into another, or just being overwhelmed by the fact that challenges in our lives are different now.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you to give us a little bit of background about yourself. Um, we know just a tiny little bit, and tell me how that all of those things that you've done have brought you where you are today. I know that's kind of a big, big topic, but yeah.
Well, I'm 59 years old and yeah, midlife. You know, married young, had kids relatively young. So one identity is, oh, 1 minute I'm a college student, the next I'm a mom of 3 little kids. Um, and then I kind of fell into sports, and it spoke so strongly to my soul that that passion, I couldn't just push it away. So then I became an endurance athlete while I was a mom, and people had their opinions on that. But it just brought me so much joy. And, my kids are pretty adventurous. And then, like a lot of women, these new roles are kind of forced upon us. It's not always that we're seeking a new role, but then all of a sudden I'm now a divorced woman with 3 very young kids, and now what does that look like? And still doing the sports that I love so much while being this, single mom. And, and then you're an empty nester, and it's like, well, now what is my purpose? What do I do now? I've been
Yeah.
on the job market for 20 some years. So yeah, a lot of these roles that we face are not necessarily because we chose them, but we have to step up to them. And how
Mhm.
do we do that and what does that look like?
Yeah, exactly. And I was just thinking back to when you said that, I fell into sports and athleticism, and I became an extreme, uh, athlete while raising 3 children. To me, raising 3 children would be an extreme sport. So, I don't know. I have no children. I can't even imagine having 3 and being an extreme athlete because I do know what it takes to train for some extreme-ish sports. In my mid-30s, a friend asked me if I wanted to do the California AIDS ride, which is a 7-day cycling trip from San Francisco to LA, and I'm like, "Oh, that sounds like fun." What was I thinking? Uh, well, it was a lot. I mean, for me, who had not ridden my bike, except for, like, around the block, uh, yeah, it was a lot. So,
You did it.
I
That's
did it.
that's the
I
thing.
did it.
Everyone could just kind of say yes to something that's on paper wild and crazy, but you did it and now you have this experience and these
Mhm.
memories that
Yeah.
will be with you forever. And that's what, Shonda Rhimes wrote that book, A Year of Saying Yes.
Mhm.
Just the cover alone is I started saying yes to everything. And it's we have nothing to lose at this stage of our lives.
Yeah.
Why you want to ride your bike from San Francisco to San Diego? Okay.
Yeah.
You've got good sag wagons, you've got good help around you. Just try it. You have nothing to lose.
Yeah, exactly, and everything to gain. I mean, I mean, yes, it was hard, and, as you know, you've done many more, things than that, and I know you're also a cyclist, but, I trained with someone that knew what they were doing, which really helped, and, there were people on the ride that hadn't even trained, but they were there, and I'm like, "Good on you. Okay." But you're right, saying yes to things, um and opportunities and being I have kinda preached just building awareness and being curious. I think a lot of times we lose our curiosity, and I'd love to have, you speak to that a little bit about, the whole saying yes thing and, you know, was it easy for you initially, or was it
I mean, I feel like I grew up with a lot of fear and I've lived my life in almost in a fear-based way, which I'm really trying hard to break free of that. um,
Wow.
and be more light and joyful. If I could take my persona how I am on a mountain, which is pretty light and joyful and fun, and bring that into my everyday life for all the worries and oh, the mortgage payment and this, and if I could combine that mountain persona with my home life, I'd be golden. But I think every day is a day to try to improve yourself, your life. The lack of curiosity, I think we get stuck in a rut. And that's when go on Meetup, for instance, in your local community. See what local things are going on. Go to your community college, see what classes. They're online courses. Just for fun during COVID, I took a wine class on, wines on the West Coast. I got certified as a newborn care specialist. Not that I'll ever have jobs in any of those things, but it was just learning something. And I mean, now the newborn care thing worked well with the new grandpa. Um, but it's we're never too old to learn something new. And if we're stuck in a rut, you know, when I'm feeling stagnant, which, I do because I don't have 3 kids running around and I don't have a career, but I just that throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. Sign up for something, sign up for a class. You never know who you'll meet in that class. Um, and just when I moved to North Carolina, I went on the meetup thing and saw a dragon boat. Come for fun and paddle with the dragon. I showed up. Now I'm on a dragon boat team and travel with them. And they're the most amazing, wonderful, fun people, all age ranges, um, and just some fabulous women as well that I consider my friends now. And that was just from a meetup thing. And I showed up. I didn't know anyone, but people were so kind and welcoming. And it was, that very scary step of putting myself out there in a group of strangers. And, there was nothing negative about it. It ended up being a really wonderful thing. And if we can just apply that, step forward thing, that one step up the mountain, it it works out usually.
Yeah, one step up the mountain. Where have I heard that
Mm.
before? Oh, I know. It's the title of your book.
Yeah, another exactly.
Well, and that is another thing to take on. But before we talk about your book, I'd love to go back just a little bit. And when I loved what you said about just try something, you don't like have to do it for the rest of your life. You don't have to be the expert in that thing, but just try it. If you don't like it, don't do it anymore. And I think that some people think that maybe because how they've lived in, whatever identity they're in now I have to be really good at it. And but like you said, meeting strangers is intimidating. Trying something new because you look silly, you're afraid that people are gonna judge you, but the experience that you had with the dragon boat, folks, I love that, and they're like, "Yeah, come on in," you don't know. Maybe everybody there is new to the dragon boat thing, So everybody's just out there trying something new. Like you said, you never know who you're going to meet and
And
what
it's
the experience is gonna be like.
what you just said about you don't have to be an expert. You don't even have to be good at it. But if it brings you joy, like, I don't have a green thumb at all, but I love to garden. So I'll still plant stuff 50-50 if it survives, but it brings me joy. I'm not good at it, but I like it. So I'll
Yeah.
continue doing it.
And that's all that matters is something that fills us up,
Yep.
right? Because there's enough things that take our energy away that, we have to recharge somehow. And if it's, you've got to find things and people that, fill you up, that, that make you smile, that give you joy. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, I thought it was interesting when you said your mountain persona, your climbing persona, and because climbing Mount Everest is no joke, and I think you've done it what, twice now? Yeah. Okay. So that's no joke. Uh, and then you say that, but most of the time I'm sort of fear based. I'm kind of those things don't seem to match up for me.
No, the mountains and a race course, those are my comfortable places where I'm
Mm,
very happy. I'm out in nature. I'm testing myself. Um, these bike rides and these races and the mountains, when you first start, you don't know if you're going to summit or cross the finish line, but it's the joy of showing up at a start line with all these other crazy people and seeing what happens. I mean, there's there's joy in the unknown and the adventure of things. And it's an adventure to me because I don't know the outcome. It's probably why I don't do triathlons because for me they're boring. You just kind of go point A to point B and not a lot of adventure in that. So um, I like the adventure of not knowing. And and then once you conquer that race course, you get to the finish line or you summit the mountain. And it's like, okay, that was hard, but it was fun. And yeah, so that place, which is home, I got a vacuum and mop and the usual stuff.
yeah.
Mm, yeah,
That sounds more like the triathlons, you need the vacuuming, the mopping, all that kinda stuff, right? It's what's gonna happen. Uh, but what you said about, not knowing the outcome, I think that we all get super hung up on what is the end goal? What is the expectation? I am supposed to, do this. And letting go of those expectations, letting go of those end goals, even though the goal is to summit, but there's a lot of work that goes into it, and like you said, that's the fun part, right? It's all about the journey.
And it really is because, the summit, let's say, the summit or the crossing the finish line, that is a small percentage of the overall journey.
Yeah.
And you're not having fun that other 90%. Um, well, it's 50% to the summit because you have to get back down. You're only halfway. When you're standing on the summit, you've done half of the job. That's it. A race course, you cross the finish line, but even crossing the finish line, there's always a little bit of sadness when we're, 24 hours away and then 12 hours away, and we know the finish line is coming. It's interesting. There's kind of a sadness of, oh, this is almost over. And you're thinking, okay, what's the next one? Um, so yeah, while the end goal is always the goal we want to achieve, you have to enjoy the journey, or what's the point? 90% misery for 10% feeling like you achieved something. Those aren't good numbers.
It's a little out of balance, I'd say, yeah. And yeah, but, I mean, it is hard, it is challenging, anything that is physically challenging. But even, when I think back to the bike riding, there were mornings when I would wake up and, I'm in the Pacific Northwest and we have an 80-mile training ride and it's like 45 degrees and raining. I just wanna, like, pull the covers back up over my head, and, at the end, though, I get home, I'm like, tired, but I feel good. I'm happy that I did it. At the time, maybe I wasn't happy, maybe there was a little crying and swearing, but still,
Happens.
I did it.
It's just even to go to the gym some mornings. It's like, oh, it's so nice in bed, but you know how good you'll feel once you've gotten there, and especially once you get home.
Mhm.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to dig a little deeper and force yourself to do something you don't feel like doing, because it's always worth it.
Yeah, so tell me, and then that kinda goes into the mindset thing, tell me about how I mean, every athlete has their own kind of mindset regime or, their prep stuff or whatever. How do you get yourself, especially when you're doing something extreme, you're climbing, you're, doing an extreme race or something. Do you have a process or a routine that you do to get yourself into that headspace?
The minute I've signed up for something, I'm in that headspace and
Mhm.
everything. Let's just say Eco Challenge 2019. As soon as I got that phone call from one of the producers of, "Hey, your team is in," everything I did for the next however many months, which maybe it was close to I don't know, 6, 8 months. Everything I did was with purpose towards that race. If I was carrying groceries, okay, let's be even, and we're working our inner core. I'm shoveling snow, I did it equally, working my core. Everything I did was focused towards that race, picking things up at odd angles, carrying as much stuff as I could. So that starts the process. Um, Once I start packing, and I'm very meticulous on packing. My gear, I love my gear. I have really good gear. And putting it all in the duffel bag, knowing it's going to be used, that makes me very happy. And that very much gets me into my headspace. I love my clothes. I love my gear. Um, and then, getting to the airport, that's, then it's game on. Um, and then you're checking your gear. Everyone packs their gear, unpacks it, packs it again, checks it. I try really I'll have my gear list, and I mark it off once I've made that check next to that piece of gear and it's in the duffel, doesn't come out, and nothing changes. So I know when I show up, I have everything. So nothing gets left behind. I'm very meticulous in the preparation, and that alone, helps set the stage for success. And, but again, adventure, you just never know what's gonna happen, but mentally, I'm there.
Okay, yeah, so what I heard was proper planning, uh acting sort of as if, like, every day is a preparation day, like you said, for the eventual race, the eventual event, the eventual whatever. And I love that you're, going through the checklists. I also have my pilot's license, and that was all about checklists. I mean, you don't take off in that plane until you've gone through everything about flying is checklists, and it makes you have a better I think it kinda grounds you, and even if you're flying, it's gonna ground you. Uh, but in your case, you knew that once you checked that thing off, it was in there, so it was one less thing
Yeah.
to distract you, it sounds like.
Exactly. I live with to-do lists, and yeah, once it's on paper or it's checked off, it's off my out of my brain so that I can focus on something else.
Yeah, amazing. And then once you're there, you're like, "Okay, this is it. We're just going." And there's no turning back at that point.
No, the fun part is the start line.
Yeah. Well, and yes, and it is having experienced that on, one level. But yeah, it's very exhilarating. And then you're like, "I'm actually doing this." That's how I felt. I was like, "I'm really doing this. I've been training for months and now I'm actually here. I'm doing it, and here we go, folks." Fun. And then the finish line was also fun because my body was hurting by that time, limping across, pedaling with one leg. Um Hey, friend. I just wanted to take a quick pause and share something special with you. If you've been feeling like life has gotten really, really loud and your body's just craving stillness and space and something real, I would like to invite you to join me and my friend Frida Karsberg this fall in Paso Robles, California for our 2-day Equus coaching retreat. We are calling it Autumn Renewal, and it's happening October 18th and 19th. We'll gather with horses, on the land, and a small group of like-minded individuals. It will give you an opportunity to reflect, recharge, and reclaim your power. There's no horse experience needed, just a willingness to come and show up as you are. And for those who feel called to go deeper, we're offering an intimate VIP immersion day. It's the one day before the retreat with one-on-one time, energy work, and intuitive guidance. Spots are limited for both of these opportunities, and they always go quickly. So if this speaks to you, head on over to willoughbycoaching.com/events for more info and to reserve your space. We look forward to meeting you exactly where you are. So, I'd love to talk to you a little bit about what was your biggest challenge not in an athletic event? Like, what has been your biggest life challenge that didn't involve an extreme sport?
First it was my divorce, which was a horrible divorce. And then it was losing my son.
Mm,
And, you know, you just have to apply everything in your wheelhouse to how do I get through this? How do I learn to live with this? Um, and it's not something you get over. It's not something you know, I like to not think about it.
mhm,
But you can't do that for the rest of your life. And it's just how do I live with this thing? And thankfully time is a great healer. Um, this October 1st will be 10 years.
mhm,
And um, that first year, I never thought I would make it to 10 years. I just That thought just seemed impossible. And you do it one day at a time. And um, when you can think of his name or and laugh because you think of something funny. I mean, I have some friends who just lost their son yesterday. I just found
ooh,
out.
mm,
Like, okay, well, I have a sense of what their future is going to be like, and I wouldn't wish it upon anyone, but I do know that time calms the pain down, and thank God for that. Or none of us would ever survive losing a child. Um,
right.
but yeah, that's the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my life.
Hmm, I'm so sorry to hear that. And it sounds like you were able to pull in from all of the training and preparation and the tools that you've used to not that, that by any means you're prepared for this, but do you feel that all of the things that you've done with your extreme sports and those journeys and everything helped you
Um,
deal with things a little bit?
well, always, I see I hiked my way through my divorce. I would hike every morning, and I could be in the worst mood or sad or angry or whatever and do my hike, and then everything just didn't seem so bad.
Mhm.
And after Johnny died, I couldn't walk around the block. I had no
Uh,
physical strength or energy. I was training at the time to climb Everest, Lhotse, and Nuptse, and I was gonna do them in 3 days. Which is a
wow.
pretty big, thing, signed up and paid for. Um, and, to now I couldn't walk around the block. Um, and then so that climb got canceled, and also it wouldn't have been my daughters would have been furious. But I was feeling so disconnected from the planet and from people and everything that I knew I needed to go do something. So I signed up for an ultra marathon
Hmm.
with a company racing the planet that I'd gone with many times. And for the first time in months, I felt somewhat human again. And, for me, my meditation comes when I'm on an 8 hour, you know, run or not that you're running for 8 hours straight. It's a walk, jog, run. But 8 hours where I could just meditate in my head and go away for hours, that was really helpful, and that's what sports have done for me, especially the long distance stuff is there's time to think and to meditate, and you get in the flow state, and, hours can go by, and so, yeah, I needed sports are what brought me back to feeling somewhat normal again.
Mm, yeah, and I you're right. I think anytime we are I do my coaching, I coach online and so other things too, but when I coach with horses, which is the way I coach, um, horses force you to be present and force you to be in your body, and I think what I hear you say is that being in your body is like your happy place. It gets you out of your head, and it just puts you in that state of meditation and calm and groundedness, and yeah, so for me, being around horses is, my way of feeling grounded and connected and in my body because they don't let you not be present. If you're in your head, they will let you know you're being in your head. So, let me ask you this. What would be, let's say someone isn't an athlete and they don't have that connection that you do with your body and, being athletic that helps you stay grounded and focused. Um, what what would you suggest for people that may not have that
You know,
and it's just not their
it
thing?
Yeah, but that's the thing is it doesn't matter what your passion is. Your
Mm.
passion could be knitting or reading comic books. Whatever your passion is, indulge in it. If there's something that makes you really happy, um, it could be walking your dog. And, we get those endorphins when we walk our dogs. See if you can't walk your dog twice a day. Or if it's knitting and that's the thing that brings you joy or doing puzzles, do that. It doesn't have to be, if we all had the same passion, the outdoors would be very crowded or, the swimming pools would be crowded. Um, but that's what's great about humans. We all have different interests. So it doesn't matter what your passion is, but give yourself the time. Even if you have to get up 15 minutes earlier every day, give yourself the time to do what makes you happy.
Yeah, and I think that that is really important these days. There's a lot of things going on. The world is a little crazy, and I think a lot of people feel even in some ways maybe a little bit more isolated than during the pandemic in some ways. Uh, so I think it's really important, and I know I just stay off the news as
Yeah.
much as possible. I can't even. I just I I surround myself with people and things that I enjoy, that fill me up, that, make my heart center vibrate and just, allow me to be in a more positive space so that if I have to help someone else, I can do that.
That I feel to my bones. I stopped watching the news, I think last November. Um, and yeah, I want in these dark times, my goal is to surround myself with, you know, people who are light and happy and um, my neighbors. I have breakfast with my next door neighbor once a week and it makes me happy. I try to listen to podcasts that are uplifting and joyful because in these dark times, yeah, I want to be a beacon of light. And, you know, if someone needs something, they know they can call me. Um, but yeah, why not be a source of light in these dark times? And if that's what we need to do, and if it's just, you know, putting a little bubble around ourselves in our community, that's okay. Whatever it takes to get you through this day, another step up the mountain, just another step forward instead of going backwards. And sometimes, we go a little sideways, but as long as we're staying forward in a positive, happy manner, and I don't want to dwell in that negativity of whatever's going on. I do want to be happy, even no matter how much time I have left on this planet. I want to live joyously.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, and I think that, I same, right here. I just things that make me smile. My little puppy, I got a little puppy a couple of months ago, and he's just the cutest thing ever, and he's also lifted up my other 2 dogs and made them feel young and happy and more vibrant again, and it's just so fun to watch. I just wake up in the morning, and I'm like, "I'm so happy I have you guys," they're just adorable, and so things like that, like you said, just being part of your community, connecting with your neighbors, on a positive note, looking forward to things, I think those are all super, super important these days to help us keep our sanity, to stay grounded, and to stay positive I wanna bring love and light, that's my goal, and laughter. I like
Yes.
humi
Just so
my
grateful.
sense of humor.
If we didn't have I mean, the funny people are what get me through the day. The funny
Mhm.
comments, just funny in general. If you can make me laugh, it's all good. And also to be grateful, even, the news is the crazy, crazy, but I am grateful for, my 2 cats.
Mhm.
I am gonna get a dog someday when I need a very old dog who won't chase the cats, but I look at my cats and I do keep a grateful I write down 5 things every day that I'm grateful for.
Mhm.
And my health, my cats, I mean, I could come up with 100 things I'm grateful for,
Yeah.
but sometimes we just need to stop and really reflect on, okay, I really do have everything. I can turn on water spigots and hot water comes out. I have a refrigerator full of food. I'm one of the luckiest people on the planet.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need to remind myself of that.
I think we all do. And like you said, it's the little things. We do have food, we do have water, we have, a warm bed. I'm always so happy in the morning. I have a little routine where I get up, get the dogs out of their crates, we feed them, and then they get to come back and snuggle in bed while I drink coffee and do my meditation and do my journaling. And, it's almost inevitable that, that's on my gratitude list. Snuggling with the dogs in the morning while drinking coffee.
Which is huge. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no greater joy than snuggling a grandkid or a dog.
Yeah,
Fair.
exactly.
Um, yeah, no, and those things, but to acknowledge that and be grateful for it is really not everybody is like, oh, I got to feed the dogs. Well, I have. It's like, no, you are so lucky to be able to feed your dogs, and
Yeah.
and to have a dog. What a great thing.
Yeah. Like, I'll go over to the bar I have a horse as well, and I'll go over to the barn, and I love cleaning stalls. And so the barn owner will come out and go, "What are you doing?" I'm like, cleaning stalls?" And they're like, "But you pay for board. That's why you pay f" I'm like, "But I enjoy it." I mean, I just love it. I think it's weird, but I mean, I do. Like you said, it's one of those meditative things where it's like, I when I'm done, I've accomplished something, and I'm proud of what I accomplished, scooping up all the poop, you know? But I also know that, it's I'm doing something for the horses, and they do things for me. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think we're onto something here.
Life with toys. For me, it's Swiffering. Give me a Swiffer, I am so happy. That is instant gratification right there.
That's so funny. Yes, we all have those things, right? You can come over and Swiffer at my house anytime. I'd love to talk about your book if you don't mind. And then I also, after you're done talking about your book, I want to know what you're up to now and what your plans are for the future. So tell me about your book a little bit.
Well, over the years, people have said, "You've gotta write a book, you've gotta write a book about your crazy adventures," and, I finally did. It took about 10 years to write, give or take, and yeah, it turned and I did that at the age of I was in my 50s, mid-50s. I think I started writing it in all of my 50s, and so again, never too late to start something. Um, and it's about all of my extreme sports, you know, being a mom going through the awful tragedy of Johnny, his passing, and how I tried to pick up the pieces afterwards. I've had friends tell me and random strangers say, one minute I'm laughing, the next minute I'm crying. So I thought that was a good response.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I wrote this book. It came out, and that's been a whole nother adventure. Um, I might write another one someday. I don't know. But I mean, my real passion is still sports, and whatever at this point what that looks like because I'm getting older. Stuff is starting to hurt, um, but I'm still out there doing it. I'm climbing Mount Whitney October 1st with a bunch of friends.
Now, isn't that how you started kind of the whole climbing thing? Was with a bunch of friends on Mount Whitney, if
What?
I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken?
started everything in 1998. I climbed Mount Whitney with 10 of my friends. Um, and now this will be my 17th climb of it. And if I summit, it'll be my 15th summit of Whitney.
Wow.
Mm. And yeah, so I'm going to go do that, to honor Johnny and say hi to him from up there. I'm every time I climb that mountain since his passing, the shooting stars have just been crazy. And that's one of my signs for him. It's like, come on, Johnny, give me a shooting star. And that'll happen. So um yeah, so that's I have that in October. I've got 3 more dragon boat races before the season ends, Puerto Rico, Dallas, and Raleigh. I'm
Oh, cool.
hoping to do Everest in the spring, for my 60th birthday. So, working on sponsorship for that, and yeah, just you know what? Just keep on keeping on.
Well, I'm glad you're slowing down and, just, sort of taking things easy in midlife.
Well, slow down a little for sure, but you know what? I'm not ready to just sit in a rocking chair.
Oh god, no. I know. Me either. I'll be 66 in a couple of weeks, and I just, I'm like, "First of all, how did I get here, and am I really 66?" I mean, I don't feel it. Well, okay, I do feel it occasionally. Uh, when I go to get up and I'm like, "Oh, that pain wasn't there before." But for the most part, I just, and I don't see, like, I'm not ready to I can't. I don't sit down, hardly ever. I like to keep going. I like to keep active. Like you, I like to try new things all the time. I started playing polo a couple of years ago, uh, and smartly fell off and broke my wrist a couple months in. But I did get back up there. I think maybe polo is not kind of my jam anymore, but I loved it and it was fun, and I made some good friends. But yeah, I think I love being challenged. I love being a beginner. Um, I feel like you're a kindred spirit that way. Just get out there and try new things, meet some new dragon boat people or whatever.
And that's the thing is people say, "Oh, I'm this age, I can't do that." And I just think, "Oh, please don't say that. You can do
Mm,
anything at any age. Just take the expectations of, I'm gonna be really good at this."
yeah.
Maybe think that a little bit in your head because I like to, but it don't be bummed if you're not. You're getting the experience, you're trying something new. You might so I did, I'm embarrassed to say, during COVID, I took a knitting class, and it was so bad. The instructor said, "Why don't we have a private to see if you can catch." I mean, we were maybe 10 minutes into my private knitting class, and she just said, I don't know that this is for you." And I'm like, "Oh, thank goodness, because it's really not. I'm not enjoying this at all. I'm really glad I tried it
Yeah.
because I can take that off my list of things I want to maybe know how to do. And that's okay." Um, you know, I went in expecting to be a really good knitter because, I just
How
thought
hard could it be,
it was
right?
easy. Everybody does it. No, it's not for me. And that's okay because on to something else.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because I find knitting and crocheting and all those things, I'm always, I appreciate the people that do it, but it's tedious to me. I cannot sit there. It's too tedious for me. My grandmother tried to teach me when I was young, and I'm like, oh no, thank you. This is not for me. So I never bothered after that either. So good for
But
you for saying, yeah. But at least you tried.
yep, at least I tried.
Oh my god. This has been such a great conversation, Deanette. Please tell me, how if there's one thing that you could leave my listeners with, what would that be?
Give yourself some joy every day. Just 5 minutes of joy, whether it's petting an animal, filling a bird feeder and watching the birds come, um, listening to something funny on podcasts or wherever you hear something funny. Just give yourself 5 minutes of joy, whatever that is. And then when you can, string more of those 5 minutes of joy together to make a joyful day.
I love that. That's
New
beautiful.
things. Sign up for stuff. Try new things.
Yeah. Sign up for things and try new things that give you joy. If knitting is not one of those things, then you don't have to knit. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing all of your adventures. It's very inspiring. As someone who does get out there and try new things, I appreciate your spirit, and I'm sure that this has been very inspiring for my listeners as well. If someone wants to follow you or find out more about you, how would they do that?
Well, they can buy the book at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere they buy their books or audiobooks. It's Another Step Up the Mountain. And for me, I'm on Instagram, Dianette Wells, Facebook, Dianette Wells. I have, I think Facebook, it's Dianette Wells Endurance Athlete or something. But
I'll put it in the show notes.
yeah, it's on there. Yeah, just reach out. If they can go to my website, dianettewells.com, and if they want to send me a message, I respond. And
Awesome.
yeah, I would love to hear from people.
Deanna, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. And for my listeners, if this episode has been inspiring or resonated with you on some level, please share it with a friend. Also, rate and review. That's how we stay in the air. And that way I can keep bringing you more amazing badass guests like Deanette. And I will see you next week on Midlife Strategies for Badass Women.